I extend a warm welcome to you, ma'am. I also extend a warm welcome to Honorable Minister of State for Finance, Shri Pankaj Chaudhary ji. My warm welcome to also to Secretary Revenue, Chairman CBIC, Member Tax Policy, Member GST. Friends, now Honorable Finance Minister will make her opening remarks on the outcome of the meeting. Then the floor will be open for questions. Over to Honorable Minister, ma'am.
Thank you very much for being here. The 50th meeting of the GST Council was held today. There was a short film shown at the beginning showing the journey that has been through these 50 council meetings. The Postal Department was kind enough to issue a My Stamp and first a special cover marking the 50th GST Council meeting. I'll get into the details of the outcome of today's meeting. I'll divide it for your convenience into decision taken on rates of some goods and services and some clarifications which have been issued, and also some regularizations which have happened. So when I'm talking about rates on goods, it'll mean that reduction in some items, regularization in some items, and clarification in some items. So that's on goods. Similarly on services. And the third item, which or second, if I keep goods and services as one, because all of them pertain to rate. So if that is the first silo, the second silo will relate to GOM's recommendations, discussion, and the outcome. So that will be the second. That will have a few GOMs, not just one. So I can elaborate on each one of them a bit later. And the third is to reassure and also to give data on how many states have given us AG certified accounts for compensation dues, which are pending for several months, not at our end, but waiting the AG certificate. So largely today's GST Council meeting had outcomes on rate-related matters on goods, rate-related matters on services, and on GOMs, and finally on this. So I'll just very quickly tell you, on 4 items, rates have been brought down. They relate to uncooked, unfried, extruded snack pellets, by whatever name that you would call them. So rate has been brought down from 18% to 5%. Then similarly on fish soluble paste, again from 18 to 5%. And then imitation zari threads or yarn, known by any name in trade parlance, even that has come down from 12 to 5. And LD slag to be brought to be at par with blast furnace slag and fly ash. So LD slag has come down from 18 to 5%. So there are 4 items on which the rates have come down. 3 received exemptions. So they are cancer-related drugs, rare medicines for rare diseases, and food products for special medical purposes. These are 3 items on which exemptions have been provided. Then on 5 items, we have regularized for those earlier periods in which some people paid, some did not pay, because there were duality of rates or classification confusion or issues related to classification. And as a result, some people pay, some people don't. There's a lot of confusion about it. So there, the council has taken a call on 5 such instances, therefore 5 such items, that it shall regularize it, meaning Those who have paid it have paid it. Those who have not paid it will not go to recover from them. So such regularization has happened in 5 different items. For example, um, the first example that I like to give you, which had a clarification on regularization, is on the taxability issue of trauma spine arthroplasty implants. There was a confusion about it. Now we've regularized, and that period to which it pertains is 18 July 2022. And to regularize it to that period on an assess basis is what has happened. So for example, this is one item I can tell you. There's one more item as an example I can give you, is on raw cotton, including kala cotton, from agriculturists to cooperatives. So that has been, we've issued a regularization on that, clarifying that it is taxable, and its regulation, for the past period we have regularized it. It's a taxable item, but earlier if there's been confusion because of classification related items, or definition or confusion, we are regularizing that period. We are not going to recover from them. So such regularization with clarification has been issued for 5 different item heads. Uh, on one particular item, we have expanded the scope of taxation. And this is a topic in which I remember, at least in 2 or 3 different council meetings, particularly the Deputy Chief Minister of Haryana had spoken about. It is on the SUV vehicles. Um, and on that too, we have expanded. The details is given as to which are those vehicles which are getting covered. I'll give you the details a bit further, but there's also this issue that there was a request that 20% taxation and 22% taxation be rationalized, so everything get merged and be taxed at 22%. We have not gone with that recommendation, because if you do, then sedan also gets included into it, and 2 states specifically had objected for including sedans. Punjab and Tamil Nadu did not want sedans to be included under that, so that um, has gone through that way. We've expanded the scope, but not to such an extent that sedans get included. But the details will be part of our press release, so you'll know about it. Then there were also technical changes which had happened, essentially because we wanted uh, the GST to be in alignment with the new trade policy, which has been issued by the Commerce Ministry. Um, on the compensation cess, particularly on items like chewing tobacco, there is some clarification issued. Um, because there was a need to issue it, because you had the retail selling price, and the GOM had prescribed uh, its suggestions, whereas when it is sold in bulk, the RSP is not visible. So we've gone back to the pre-RSP rate structure. So that is another decision which has been taken today. So 6 of them largely on the goods related decisions. And on services, first item is of interest, and the other things which can be elaborated later. We've offered exemption on GST for satellite launch services provided by private organizations. Satellite launch services which are being provided by private organization, they shall not be uh, levied GST. There are a few more on the um, services also. I can see one item which will be of great interest for you on the taxability of food or beverages served in cinema hall. I would like Revenue Secretary to elaborate on it a bit later. So on the services, there is a set of decisions of which one of them will be attractive, but I'll let you know about the others as well. On the GOM, recommendation particularly on casinos, race courses, and online gaming, something on which the GST Council had formed a GOM in October of 2020. And since then, this has gone round, second round of GOMs. The same GOM went through the whole matter again for the second time. The report was submitted. A lot of stakeholders met the Chief Minister of Meghalaya, who headed this, who was the convener of this group. But today I'm happy to say that we've arrived at decisions. And the decisions are one, uh, there will be some amendment to the GST law to include online gaming um, also in it. And simply put, you can, of course, seek clarification when you ask questions. Simply put, online gaming, horse racing, and casinos will be taxed. They will be taxed at 28% each one, and they will be taxed on full face value. There can be greater explanations and details given by uh, secretary and the board members, even as you ask questions. Um, then there was a decision also taken on the GST Appellate Tribunal, that is on appointment and conditions of services and so on. So most states have given their request for where these benches will have to be present. And also on the selection, there was a lot of clarification provided. So decision has been taken on that as well. Other clarifications which are also issued on various other details, which the press release will also tell you. If there is any question that you want to ask, you can further ask on it. There was a complete presentation done also on the IT system reforms. So largely, these are the decisions. And on the compensation uh, released, as I said, the summary of it is states which have given for whichever year AG's certified claims payments have been cleared by us. But there are some states for whom still a lot of, or more than 1 year's AG certificates are still due, for whom we'll wait for the reports to come. And as and when it comes, we clear it. This has also been said in the council itself. So this is largely what it is. I'll leave it to you for the questions.
Fine. 100. Shashir.
Good evening. Shishir here from Hindu Business Line. My question is that when you are saying that the definition of online gaming to be included in the GST law, and there is a law also proposed by the MeitY on the online gaming, will there be any kind of synchronization between these two laws so that there should not be any problem? And the second part is, since this matter is also sub judice after Karnataka High Court, so what kind of a stand we can expect on that issue? Thank you.
Um, First of all, this has been discussed a lot in the council. Today, too, very substantive discussions have taken place. Um, I just want to indicate to you what this discussion is all about and why the decisions have been taken the way they've been taken. Um, and also on the question of the MeitY coming up with it. We'll, of course, as a government as a whole, and also GST Council, will make sure that we are in constant touch with each other. MeitY's technical regulation related, and also they're probably likely to provide a list of those which are, possibly recognized kind of or inclusive list or an exclusion list, whichever they're going to do. That is largely on the side of regulating them and identifying certain whatever games which are beyond the realm or what. What we are taking as a position is this is purely on the taxation. Um, so that is one simple differentiation that I want to do. Even as I say it, we will still align with what the MeitY wants to bring in as their regulation. Yes, the matter being sub judice was also discussed. And if I'm right and subject to my getting corrected in case there is anything wrong, the discussion also looked at what is skill based and what is chance based. Whatever be the decision on each of the game being either skill or chance based or being both or being neither is not what we are looking at. We are purely looking at that which is being taxed because it creates value, profit is being made, or a wager is being levied. Based on the wager, people earn windfall, which is what is betting all about. So that's what we've been talking about. And therefore, today's decision looks at that aspect of what is to be taxed at what rate.
Anchal.
Ma'am, Anchal from Indian Express. Ma'am, about the things that you said, game of skill or game of chance, you're not looking at that exactly. But about actionable claim, will there be a legal amendment for it? If you could elaborate on that. And also, when you mentioned about the compensation, how much amount is pending to states which have not given their AG certified? If you could share some details. Yep.
Yes, there will be an amendment to the Section 3 of the GST, Schedule 3 of the GST Act, and we will be bringing in online gaming into the actionable claim list, where item number 6 very clearly says betting, gaming, and lotteries. Betting, gambling, and lotteries are already in it. We will be including online gaming also into it, and horse racing. As a result, that actionable claim has this amendment which will be effected now. And therefore, they will be taxable, and therefore, the council spent quite some time today deciding on, yes, they are taxable on what? Therefore, full face value. Yes, they are taxable, how much? 28%.
Prashant. Oh, sorry.
Yes, on the compensation says quite a few states have received their compensation. For the states which have not given the AG certificates, I don't have a ready figure of how much is pending because I can't say it till the AG certificate comes. So when it comes, I will be able to produce that.
Ma'am, the GOM recommended that the initial entry amount in casinos will be taxed at 28%, and the subsequent winnings will not be taxed. So, what is the decision on that?
Yes. Vivek, do you want to expand on it?
Thank you. Yeah, so with regard to casinos, the decision has been that it will be, first of all, the rate of tax, like Honorable FM just clarified, will be 28%, and it will be applicable to the value of the chips that are playing in a casino. So it's the purchase value of the chips on which the tax will apply.
Meghna, 91.
I'm Meghna Mittal from Money Control. Recently, there was a notification by which GSTN could exchange information with ED. Apparently, did some of the states, there was any objections to it that was discussed in the meeting and any decisions on that? And secondly, on the appellate tribunal, what is the roadmap? Like how many benches will come up in the first phase?
Yes. There was that issue raised about this information which is going to be received by the GSTN. And it was raised by the Finance Minister of Delhi and also Finance Minister of Punjab. And based on that, because they both insisted on having a discussion today, in fact, even in the morning, much before the agenda started, I had very clearly told them that yes, they will be allowed to talk and discuss it. Later, many of the ministers themselves joined in to say, let's finish the agenda first, which is listed out, and after which we can have a discussion. And so it was that after the agenda was completed, we had a discussion on the issue. When this issue was raised, Secretary Revenue gave an explanation of what exactly is this, on which the Finance Minister Delhi wanted a discussion, saying it probably is going too far and so on. So I'll ask Sanjay Malhotra, Revenue Secretary, to give you a picture of what exactly did he say and where the discussion ended. Sanjay.
So this notification has been issued under Section 66 of the PML Act. So that way it has nothing to do with the GST law. This notification has been issued, as you are already aware, because under the FATF, our mutual evaluation is already under process. And so it is one of their requirements. So to fulfill that requirement, we have issued this notification. It was also clarified to them that this notification will empower our tax authorities with more information. The GSTN is a recipient of information. They had doubts as to GSTN will start sharing information about the private businesses to other law enforcement agencies, including ED. It was clarified that ED is not getting any information, neither is ED providing any information through this notification. The director FIU shall provide information to empower authorities wherever they feel there is any chance of tax evasion or for purposes of money laundering, etc. This information can be used by these tax authorities as they deem fit. So this was clarified to them, and I think all of them were quite satisfied with the explanation given.
Every state had asked for benches, and we had received this list. What is agreed broadly is we are not going to deny any state the request that they've sent. Suppose a state says, I want 5, or suppose a state says 2. We are not denying anybody at this stage. But the process of recruiting for these places, which is going to happen together with states, at a go to recruit this many number of people will also be time consuming exercise. So we've said at least 2.
We have said, ma'am, that we'll do it in a phased manner, and in the state capitals, plus wherever there are high court benches, to start with, at least in these locations, we will provide the benches.
At the earliest, and then
in
the
a
rest
phase,
of them will continue.
Roughly 50 proposals have come in.
Shrimi.
Yeah, Shrimi here from Business Standard, ma'am. Ma'am, as you mentioned that the compensation cess on the tobacco-related items, so since it's the selling is happening on the basis of retail sale price, so it couldn't be determined. So what is the position now? Like how you're taking it forward?
So see, on the basis, there was a GOM, as you would be aware, on tobacco and related products, and it had recommended that rather than having an ad valorem rate, we should have a rate which is fixed to the retail sale price of these products. So that was done on the basis of the council's decisions in the last council meeting. Later on, it was realized that some of these products do not have a retail sale price, especially those where those which are sold in bulk. And so for those, we are saying that we go back to the old system of taxing them at ad valorem rates and not at RSP. Only for those where it is not legally mandatory to provide for an RSP, and because there is no RSP, So we can't link it to any RSP for those bulk products. Some of the items for which there is no RSP.
हेलो मैम नमस्कार, मैं आलोक प्रियदर्शी सीएनबीसी हवाई से। मैम मेरा सवाल यह है कि प्रधानमंत्री का विजन है कि देश को ऑनलाइन गेमिंग का हब बनाना है। इंडस्ट्री की तरफ से कुछ इस तरह से आ रही है कि जो ये टैक्स 28% फुल फेस वैल्यू लगाएगा, इससे पूरी इंडस्ट्री बर्बाद हो जाएगी, तबाह हो जाएगी। आपने जो ये डिसीजन लिया, इसके पीछे क्या सबसे महत्वपूर्ण रीजन था? टैक्स कलेक्शन करना, या जो एक सोशल इसके पीछे जो कॉज देखे जा रहे हैं, बच्चों में लत फैलती जा रही है, ये भी एक अहम मुद्दा था। क्या इस विजन, प्रधानमंत्री के विजन पर इस पर कोई असर पड़ेगा, ये आपसे जानना है।
इसके ऊपर विस्तार चर्चा हुआ। ऑनलाइन गेमिंग इंडस्ट्री का आज का इम्पैक्ट कितना है और इसमें कितने रेवेन्यू जनरेशन का पोटेंशियल है, इसके ऊपर भी चर्चा हुआ। और इंडस्ट्री को खत्म करना ऐसे कोई कुछ हमारे एजेंडा में नहीं है। आप जैसे पूछ रहे हैं कि वो टफ हो जाएगा, आई एम सॉरी, नो। क्योंकि हाँ, हर तरह का बिजनेसेस चालू रखना है, जैसे कैसीनो गोवा की, जैसे कैसीनो सिक्किम की। दोनों वो स्टेट छोटे हैं और उनके आर्गुमेंट ये था कि एकदम हमारे टूरिज्म में इसका असर बहुत बड़ा है। इसके ऊपर विस्तार से चर्चा हुआ। सो इट्स नॉट सो मच आवर पोजीशन, एवरी स्टेट फेल्ट इट। और इतनी दूर तक भी डिस्कशन हुआ, जिस स्टेट का कैसीनो से ताल्लुक ज्यादा है उनसे बहुत सारे हम सुने भी, उसके बाद ही ये निर्णय लिया गया। मैं सिर्फ वो आपके सामने उदाहरण रखना चाहती हूं। जब कैसीनो टैक्सेशन के ऊपर चर्चा हुई, मैं स्टेट का नाम नहीं लेते मगर विषय बोल रही हूं, इतने दूर तक डिस्कशन चला कि क्या कैसीनो को प्रमोट करने के लिए, क्योंकि वो टूरिज्म का बहुत अहम मुद्दा है एक आध स्टेट्स के लिए, उसमें टैक्स फूड प्रोडक्ट्स से भी कम होना चाहिए क्या? उतने दूर तक भी आज डिस्कशन गया। और दूसरा ये भी पॉइंट आया, ठीक है प्रमोट करना है, मगर उसको प्रमोट करने के द्वारा क्या हम देश को ये संदेश दे रहे हैं बाकी सब में टैक्स रेट 5 है, 12 है, 18 है, मगर इनको उससे भी कम देना है? सो एक मॉरल क्वेश्चन के ऊपर भी डिस्कशन हुआ कि एक तरफ आप उस इंडस्ट्री को खत्म नहीं करना चाह रहे, मगर इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि एसेंशियल गुड्स से भी ज्यादा प्रोत्साहन उनको दो। सो आज मैं बहुत ही मन में गर्व महसूस कर रही हूं कि काउंसिल में आज बहुत ही इमोशनल तरीके से इसको कितनी दूर तक हम लेके जाना और कितनी दूर तक हम इसको समझना, इसके ऊपर हर स्टेट का भागीदारी रही। और जो 2-3 साल से पेंडिंग है निर्णय, आज वो निर्णय हम ले पाए, इसीलिए कि हर स्टेट उसके ऊपर उनके अपने भागीदारी स्पष्ट रखे। सो हमारे इंटेंट ये नहीं है कि ऑनलाइन गेमिंग हो, कैसीनो हो, हॉर्स रेसिंग हो, कोई इसका हम खत्म करने के लिए नहीं कर रहे हैं, मगर ये सब इतना कॉम्प्लेक्स हो गए हैं कि इस रूट में जाओ या उस रूट में जाओ, हर रूट में एक हद तक ट्रांसपेरेंसी है, उसके बाद वो ओपेक है। उसको पियर्स करते हुए अंदर जाकर के हम पूरे वैल्यू को निर्णय कर पाएंगे नहीं, नामुमकिन है। So it is impossible to pierce that veil of veil which brings opacity on how actually it is operated, and then say, no, I know what happens inside, therefore I'll only go by that. I'll go following every fellow, every tourist, and say, are you playing at this table? Are you paying at that table? How much pay you pay? Impossible to execute. So the discussion went thoroughly. और ये नहीं है कि कोई इंडस्ट्री और कोई खेल और कोई ऐसे हॉर्स रेसिंग और कुछ हो उसको खत्म करने के लिए, मगर वो भी होना चाहिए कि सिंप्लीफाइड सिस्टम होना चाहिए, ना कि वो जाके खेलने वाले के पीछे हम पड़े और कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी बढ़वाए। ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस सबको तो चाहिए।
Surbi.
Good evening. This is Surbhi from Business Today. Ma'am, there was also a drive against fake GST registration. So was that issue taken up, and were further measures for revenue augmentation also taken up by the council? Thank you.
Today, there wasn't much of a discussion on revenue augmentation, but is there anything you want to add, Sanjay?
No, if you want some information on that, I mean, it was not discussed, but we in the officers meeting yesterday had discussed this. Against, 70,000 uh, suspected firms, we have been able to verify about 60,000 of them, and about 17,000 of them were found to be bogus, against which action has been taken. Roughly about 17,000 crore of tax is suspected to have been evaded by these firms.
Ma'am, this is Sumit Chaturvedi from ET Now. Did the issue of increasing the period of compensation or years for states come up? And if yes, what was discussed there?
Almost at the end of the meeting, Kerala said we will still request that the compensation should be expanded, extended further, and so on. Chhattisgarh also joined with Kerala to say, yes, we should look at compensation, because the growth is still not 14%, it is less than 14. So there, it is only around 12 at the national level. And in some state levels, it could be even lesser. So they need compensation all over again. So could we think about it?
So, ma'am, this is a bit different from GST, but one of the BJPs have been charge sheeted in sexual harassment case, and he has also misbehaved with the woman reporter.
Oh.
So, as a woman MP and
I'm concentrating on
Minister.
GST today.
Ma'am, Shivani Bajaj from CNBC TV 18. I wanted some clarification on, you said expanded the scope of SUVs. Could you please expand on that? What has happened to the taxation in SUV segment? Also, ma'am, about cancer and rare disease medicines. Is it just for personal import, or can industry also import? Is that also something that the taxation has been brought down? And all medicine or specific medicines when we look at both of these things? Also, ma'am, you spoke about the food and beverages inside the cinema halls. What has been decided on that? Is there a circular that you're sending? Thanks, ma'am.
Yeah, so the food and beverages part, last one first. So there was a doubt as to whether food and beverages, when consumed within a cinema, should be taxed at 18%, which is the tax rate for cinema services, or 5% without ITC, which is the tax rate for the restaurant services. So it has been clarified today by the council that it will be for the foods and beverages that one consumes in the cinema halls, it shall be 5% and not 18%. The second question relates to some of the medicines. So there is a specific list, by the Department of Health. Some diseases which are rare diseases, there is a list which they keep updating, and basis that list on the recommendation of a government health health officer, imports thereof imports of medicines as well as special foods relating to these rare diseases, the exemption on IGST shall be
It is
provided.
imported by centers of excellence for rare diseases, or by any person or institution on the recommendation of any of the listed center of excellence. Anyway, the medicine is also a listed set of medicines which is released by the Ministry of Health. So it has to be in the list. It can be imported by the center of excellences or the person for particular use. So that's it.
And on the SUVs, on the SUV, see previously or till now, for a vehicle to be categorized as SUV to attract your compensation cess, higher compensation cess, 4 conditions were needed. One is that it should be popularly known as SUV. It should have a length more than 4 meters. Then it should have an engine capacity exceeding 1500 cc and ground clearance of 170 millimeters or above. So now the council has decided that only last three conditions, which is the ground clearance, the length, and the engine, but not popularly known as SUV, shall be deleted. Only these 3 conditions shall be necessary. The other thing the council has also clarified is that when we mention 170 of ground clearance, then it is without uh, 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 without lading, without any weight. So it is unladen vehicle, weight unladen, in unladen condition, the ground clearance shall be seen.
Anuradha.
A small clarification, ma'am. Like, this new rate, 28% on the online gaming, racing and casinos. Since, when it will be effective, A. And second, what will happen to the cases where revenue has already raised the demand of 28% and where the industry is yet to pay tax or the matter which are sub judice? So some clarity on that.
So let me clarify. First of all, the rate has always been, 28%. It's not something new that we have done. It's always been 28%, and it has been always been 28% on the face value or the payment that one makes towards purchase of playing these games. So it's not as if, we are doing it afresh. So the old cases will go on. I mean, the courts have taken a certain view. We are fighting those cases and we'll continue to fight those cases. As regards, so this is basically only a clarification. As the Honorable Finance Minister has already mentioned, this is to further amply clarify and to leave nothing to doubt and to, to put this debate to an end with the courts, that, we'll be coming up with this amendment. And as soon as we are able to make the amendment, we'll notify the rates also accordingly. No, it's not sedan. It's only utility vehicles more than 4 meters.
Sir, timeline
And
for
170 and 1500 cc.
Sir, timeline for that amendment?
Not anything. It has to be a utility vehicle. 4 meters, engine capacity of 1500 cc or more, and then, unladen ground clearance of 170 millimeters. Yes, it includes MUVs,
That's why we
XUVs,
said it
SUVs,
is
whatever name
utility
they may be
vehicles
called.
by whatever name. Utility vehicles by whatever name they may be called, provided they meet the last 3 parameters, which is length exceeding 4000 millimeters, engine capacity exceeding 1500 cc, and ground clearance, unladen, that is, ground clearance of 170 millimeters and above.
Ma'am, Janani from BQ Prime. It was briefly alluded to in terms of bogus registrations and faulty claims. Rules were being tweaked. There would be a tighter bounds to limit that. So if we can get a little more clarity on what was discussed on that subject. And also previously it was proposed that rules would be made to tweak credit mismatch and system-based suspension. If there is some discussion that had happened regarding this and any clarity on that.
Yeah. So there are some changes that have been proposed in the procedure and law to take care of bogus billing and fake invoicing. So we've come at it in 2 different ways. One is to tighten the registration process further so that we can eliminate the possibility of bogus firms being registered under GST. One of the requirements that has now been stipulated is that the bank account details, valid bank account details of the person who's seeking registration need to be provided. In case they're not provided, the registration can be automatically revoked or suspended. Then, even if Aadhaar has been authenticated, physical verification can be resorted to in case there are reasons to believe that the unit is suspicious. And the third is that when we're doing a physical verification, the presence of the applicant will not be mandatory. It will not be currently what happens is when we go for physical verification of a premises, the applicant has to be present at the premises. So we're saying that that will not be mandatory. And finally, the pilot for biometric authentication of Aadhaar, that also has been put on a formal sort of footing. So these are some 3-4 measures. Along with that, there are details you'll find about mismatches between GSTR 2B and 3B, how they will be reconciled. There are some revised procedure, not procedure, instructions pertaining to that. So those details are there in the press release.
Ajay Mishra.
मैम वो SUVs एंड MUVs पे जो फाइनल टैक्स इंसिडेंस है, क्या उसमें कोई चेंजेस आएगा? और 22% सेस का प्रपोजल था, क्या उसको माना नहीं गया है? वो क्लैरिफिकेशन थोड़ा समझ में नहीं है।
कुछ चर्चा नहीं है. Definition is only the clarification on what becomes the criteria for deciding on which is the utility.
मैम, आपने डोमेस्टिक पे तो टैक्स बढ़ा दिया, 18 से 28 कर दिया, लेकिन मैम जो फॉरेन कंपनीज हैं, जो ऑफशोर कंपनीज हैं, देश के अंदर काम कर रही हैं, उन्होंने खुद ने मान लिया कि $12 बिलियन वो यहाँ से कमा के जा रही हैं, तो उनको कैसे रोका जाएगा? एक सवाल। दूसरा सवाल मैम, जीएसटी टर्मिनल कब तक लगता है कि शुरू हो पाएगा? यदि टाइम लग रहा है तो क्या कोई मिडवे अरेंजमेंट आप करेंगे, क्योंकि पेंडेंसी उस केसेस की बहुत बढ़ती जा रही है?
देखिए, जो जीएसटी ट्राइब्यूनल है, वो नियम जो है हम उसको अब नोटिफाई कर देंगे, 1 अगस्त से वो लागू हो जाएगा। तो इसके बाद में एडवर्टाइजमेंट हम इशू करेंगे। तो 4 से 6 महीने में हमें लगता है कि ये जो जीएसटी ट्राइब्यूनल है वो क्रियान्वित हो जाएगा और कार्य करने लग जाएगा। हमारा ये पूरा प्रयास है, जैसा हमने पहले भी कहा था कि इसी वित्तीय वर्ष में हम इसको प्रारंभ करेंगे। 4 से 6 महीने का हमारा अनुमान है, उसमें हम इसको प्रारंभ कर देंगे। दूसरी जो आपने बात कही कि बाहर विदेश में कंपनियां हैं जो इसके ऊपर में इसको अभी कर रही हैं, तो चूंकि वो जीजीआर के ऊपर में कर रही हैं, इसलिए उसके ऊपर में टैक्स का थोड़ा मुश्किल होता है। लेकिन जब फेस वैल्यू पे हमने अब ये क्लैरिफाई किया है कि ये फेस वैल्यू पे होगा, तो हमारी सभी जो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन जो हमारी टैक्स अथॉरिटीज हैं, और वो अब पेमेंट्स के ऊपर में, जब पेमेंट होगी तो पेमेंट के ऊपर में ही चूंकि अब ये टैक्स लागू हो जाएगा, तो वो पेमेंट तो भारत से ही हो रहा है, तो उसको भी हम विभिन्न जो हमारे पेमेंट चैनल्स हैं उसके थ्रू हम लागू करने का हमारा ये प्रयास रहेगा।
Prakash Pedashi from ET Now Swadesh. Was there any discussion on providing GST exemption to the millet-based products? It was in the agenda for last GST Council meeting.
See, this is a deferred agenda. This time also it was deferred because the law committee, the fitment committee is actually examining this issue. So वो अभी उसके ऊपर में पूरा निर्णय नहीं हुआ है। कुछ चर्चा जरूर हुई, कुछ राज्यों ने इसको उठाया और ये निर्देश दिया है कि फिटमेंट कमेटी इसको कार्य को त्वरित गति से पूरा करके और अगली काउंसिल की बैठक में इसको प्रस्तुत करें।
Ma'am, I am Monica from the New Indian Express. Ma'am, many multiplexes wanted a higher tax on food items served in their food courts, from 5% to 12%, so that they can avail ITC. So was it also discussed in the meeting today?
No, that we've announced the outcome, but it wasn't elaborately discussed in the council.
And ma'am, also, I want to know how many cases are likely to be introduced in the appellate tribunals?
How many what?
Cases.
No, that will depend on, you know, how many cases, how many the taxpayers, how many of them, you know, go in appeal. So we will not have any number as of now. It is too early to say.
Garish.
Hi, I'm Girish from MID. Ma'am, is there any estimate of what may be the revenue gains because of the definition change in sports utility vehicles?
No, I don't think we have it. No, we don't have it at the moment.
Last question, Karishma.
No, today we didn't have any discussion on that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
friends.